So UFC 294 happened last night. I was going to throw out a video straight away, instant reaction, but I said I'd gauge the temperature, especially across social media, and see what everyone was talking about. I'm here, I'm going to do this video. It's going to be a little bit disjointed. I had to make notes because I'm going to be jumping all over the place. I'm going to talk about mental health. I'm going to talk about Volkanovski probably ending his career essentially last night by taking this fight on short notice, and the real reason he took the fight. I'm going to talk about Khamzat Chimaev, Islam Makhachev, Kamaru Usman. I'm going to try go through all of it. So as I said, it might be all over the place, but it's just going to be my thoughts in terms of what this card was, what I predicted it would be, and again how the UFC comes out being the winner at the end of this shit show, and crazy decisions from Dana about who's fighting Sean Strickland next. So there's so much going on here. As I said, it's going to be disjointed. Bear with me, we'll get into it. I don't want to be that dude who says I told you so. I made a video a couple of days ago. It was a bomb of a video. She went straight to the floor. No one was interested in watching it because I said that I was not interested in this fight card, and something had spoken to me early in the week with the change out and the late replacements. I wasn't feeling this fight. Of course, I had some derogatory comments sent towards me about where this fight was happening and the people that were involved in it. You can say whatever you want. It is what it is. There was something veering me to the side of I'm not really interested in this card. And as it turns out, I've seen multiple YouTube MMA content creators saying that this is possibly the worst card of the year, if not of all time. Fine. I said it 3 days ago. No one really had any interest in listening to me. That's cool. I'm not one of them dudes. One of the reasons that I wasn't interested in this card was the overt preferential treatment for Khamzat Chimaev and Islam Makhachev. I'm not going down the rabbit hole of this, that and the other. I'm just going to say it's so obvious that Dana wants Khamzat to be champion. And for anybody that watched the press conference after this where he's talking about Khamzat and he hopes to keep him more active and he hopes that he's going to get the title shot next against Sean Strickland. And if the rumors are true, I saw it the other night, I didn't confirm it. Apparently when Paulo Costa pulled out of this Abu Dhabi card, the fight was offered to Sean Strickland, which is a massive insult if that's true. If it's actually true that the new middleweight champion, as of about 3 or 4 weeks ago, was offered a 12-day notice fight against Khamzat, the wolf, the bear, the one who's tearing everyone apart, and I'm going to get to his performance in a minute, but if that's true, that's insulting and embarrassing, and I don't know what else to say about that. You know, people need to call this shit out when they see it. Sean Strickland was never liked for the job of being middleweight champion. He was never liked for the job of being the face of the UFC. You know they want the LGBTQ, nail varnish, Black Lives Matter type of people. Sean Strickland didn't fit that bill and now they want him out. Clearly. It's so sad. We should definitely talk about Khamzat's performance right now. That fight with Kamaru Usman was probably the best fight on the card. It was the most enjoyable one for me. I don't dislike Khamzat Chimaev. I kind of dislike Kamaru Usman. And I went into this fight wanting Usman to do it, because of the preferential treatment, because of the lopsidedness of this whole thing. You know, we were being told that he was a 36-year-old, no knee, washed out fighter who had no chance against Khamzat Chimaev, and you could hear it in the commentary, especially DC. Last night was one of the most biased performances from that man that I've ever heard. Like, he was slobbering all over Islam and Islam's team and their wrestling and their coaches. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic, bro. The fight with Khamzat was the very same. All I heard over and over again was that this guy is an absolute beast. But what I saw in reality was completely different to that. So in this fight with Kamaru Usman, Khamzat Chimaev rushed in the first round and went for the wrestling, went for the power, went for the tenacity, went for the gas tank. And I think that Kamaru Usman did a fantastic job. People are saying that it was a 10-8. Fine, it's a 10-8. I think that Kamaru Usman deserves respect for what he did. He didn't go out like Kevin Holland in the first round. He didn't get mauled like all these other nobodies that Khamzat has fought. He actually stayed calm, showed some really good defensive wrestling, and survived. And I was so happy that he made it out of that round. I wanted him to unleash on the feet, and that's what he did in the second round. There was a couple of 1-2s where he stung Khamzat, sent him backwards, and I was like going, this is it. Here we go. This is a fight. And I wanted to see the hype train derailed again. Not because I dislike Khamzat. Nothing about him. If you watch his interviews, as I said in my last video, he's talking about money. He doesn't care about belts. He wants to make money. fine. You can't go after Kamaru Usman then for taking the fight on 12 days notice and say that it was because of money. That's just bullshit. Third round, here we go again. Kamaru Usman comes out. They start exchanging on the feet. He starts winning the exchanges on the feet. Khamzat Chimaev shoots for the takedown, secures it, but doesn't hold it too long. Kamaru Usman pops back up, and the two of them engage in a couple of haymakers at the end of the round. Extremely razor thin round. We get to the decision. It goes Khamzat's way, of course, because of where they're fighting, and of course the bias from UFC to promote these dudes. We saw it with Paddy Pimblett. It's very annoying and it's very disgusting, and I can't stand it. We had the commentators, the analysts, everybody across social media coming straight on board with Khamzat Chimaev to pump this train and get it going again, talking about how he's such a beast. And to be honest with you, totally ignoring the fact that this was a super tight fight, that he quite possibly, I won't say lost, but this could have been a draw. This 100% could have been a draw under different judges. We look at his second last fight against Gilbert Burns. A lot of people thought that was razor thin and that he actually lost. So why are we continuing to talk about Khamzat Chimaev as if he's unbeatable, as if he's untouchable, as if the gas tank is absolutely brilliant? It's clearly not. It's clearly not. First round, he was almost tanked. Second round, slowed down significantly and started getting pieced up. Now, the rumor is that he broke his arm in the first round. I don't know how true that is. We'll see how it goes. I know that that plays into the fact that Dana wants him to fight Strickland and take the belt off Strickland, but if his arm is broken, then that's not going to happen, is it? Where's Dricus du Plessis? Totally forgotten because he upset Dana, and God forbid you don't want to upset Dana. It's bullshit. It's not really sport. You know what I mean? You should be judged on your merit, not how the big boss man perceives you and whether you're a good boy or a bold boy. Fuck that. So that was the Khamzat Chimaev fight. Before that, we had craziness from the Johnny Walker Ankalaev fight. What the hell was going on there? Crazy decisions by doctors, waving people off because they can't pronounce Abu Dhabi because he doesn't even speak English. It's just like, okay, what's going on here? We have groin kicks that aren't really groin kicks, that might be groin kicks, and everyone's ruled out. It's just a shit show from start to finish. That leads us into the Volkanovski-Islam fight. We all know what happened. Volkanovski looked overweight. He looked like he had a flabby old belly. I saw these picture comparisons of him standing in Perth during the last fight versus Makhachev, and he looked significantly more ripped. This one, he looked loose, he looked flat, he looked flabby. Islam shot for a takedown. Volk wasn't having it. Verbalized, you ain't getting me on that. It went to a bunch of clinching. There was some exchanges inside there. Islam was doing well. They separated, shinned him right in the forehead, dropped him, and then wobbled his head all over the place. I don't think that's the story. I think there's two narratives at play with the Volkanovski and the Islam Makhachev. And you know what? There might be two narratives at play for this whole card, because it was a great win by Makhachev. Fair play to him. The dude is huge for that weight, and he's doing really well in terms of striking, getting better and better and better. And we know what he's at with the wrestling. So look, fair play to him. Not too much negativity aimed towards him. And the knee-jerk reactions right there when Volk loses is that we're never going to see the actual rematch that we wanted to see between Volkanovski and Makhachev. They fought in Perth. It was an extremely close fight. Some people say that Volkanovski won. If not a win, then it was a draw. We're never going to get to see that again because of what happened. The 12-day notice, the preferential treatment for these fighters from a certain region. That's upsetting. And what's also upsetting is the fact that this Ilia Topuria fight in January now all of a sudden looks like it's in jeopardy, because is Volk going to be ready? That's the first thing. Secondly, is the spirit broken? It looks like that there's a decline there in terms of his ability and possibly the mental stability as well. And that seems to be a thread running through this entire card last night. Khamzat Chimaev was extremely upset in the aftermath of beating Kamaru Usman. And at the time, the knee-jerk reaction was, okay, he realized that the gas tank wasn't there after the first round. He realized that he skittered by the skin of his teeth, and that's why he was upset. He didn't want to talk about legacy. He didn't want to talk about belts. He didn't want to talk about that. He was visibly upset, talking about his mother, talking about making money, being appreciative to the actual organization for giving him this chance. And then of course he spoke about the craziness that's going on in the world right now. Islam Makhachev spoke about that as well, and tensions seem to be very high in terms of geopolitical, socio-political movements at the moment. People are clearly affected by what's happening in the world, and it's crazy to see this bleed into our sports and into our mainstream media. But of course it's orchestrated in that manner because it's flashed on social media so much. But these fighters were visibly affected by it last night, and a lot more in terms of the mental health. And we even saw Volkanovski being extremely open and vulnerable in the press conference after. Now, of course, you can say, listen, you made a bad decision taking this fight on 12 days. What was behind that decision? And is that why you're upset now? And I don't think so. Reading between the lines, going on what he said during this press conference, as I said, it was extremely revealing. The dude is suffering from mental health. Now, this is a very common attribute for these fighters, to be up and down between fights, and when they're not training and when they're not fighting, the mental health suffers. But also, the general populace are in the exact same position. And I don't think that they're isolated events. I think that there's a collective unconscious that is spread out across the world, and people are feeling the effects of the constant bombardment from the people that are in power. Now you can say it's the food, the diet, the social media, all that sort of stuff affects people so terribly in the modern age. That's why you need to kind of step away from it. But seeing Volkanovski be so vulnerable and talk about his mental health and saying that he needed to stay busy, please keep me busy because my head has been done in. I'm skeptical of the fact that he thinks that being busy and having another fight will be the solution to his mental health. I think that there's another route to take there. I think that the Islam defeat last night was a result of being unprepared and rushing it, trying to get your head straight. It should have been the inversion of that, where you get your head straight, get prepared for the fight and don't rush. Because I believe if Volkanovski went into this fight with a clear mind and a full training camp, even if he did get a shin to the side of the temple and panned out cold, that he would be more equipped to deal with this sort of a loss. Right now I think that the mind is unstable. You're coming off a terrible performance and a terrible loss, and I don't think it's going to be easy to recover from. This could quite possibly be the start of a massive decline for Volkanovski, and it's a shame to see it. And we even saw Kamaru Usman getting visibly upset in an interview after the fight. So across the board we just had this melting pot of emotions, of mental health, and there was a dark cloud hanging over everybody, and it seems to have seriously affected the fighters, the card, and the general populace and fans and the community surrounding MMA and UFC at the moment. So after this card we're left with more questions than answers. Why is Dana adamant to take the belt from Sean Strickland and give it to Khamzat Chimaev? Who's going to beat Islam? Who's he going to fight down at 155? Do we actually want to watch Justin Gaethje attempt to fight him? Do we want to watch Dustin Poirier again? Do we want to see what Charles does when he's fully recovered in 3 or 4 months' time? I don't know. It's left it really in limbo. Where does Kamaru Usman go from here? Does he go back to 170 or does he stay at 180? Does Khamzat Chimaev get a title shot? Where is Dricus du Plessis in all of this? What happens to Johnny Walker and Ankalaev? Do they go at it again? What happens in terms of future cards in Abu Dhabi? Are there going to be fighters more reluctant to take that fight because of the conditions that surround that location and the fight cards that generally happen there? It's very interesting. And of course, you got to think about karma and consequences. When you have the likes of Dana White, Eugene Bareman coming out openly saying in the last couple of months that these fighters like Alexander Volkanovski, Kai Kara-France, Israel Adesanya are built of stronger stuff than everybody else on the roster. These guys are just built differently. And right now, after last night's card, we are sitting here in the aftermath of not only Volkanovski's complete and utter disastrous decline in terms of mental health and legacy. We saw Israel Adesanya come out this week and say that his mental health is done, that he won't be fighting for a very long time. And we know that Kai Kara-France, a nothing burger, pulling out of fights left, right and centre. Is there karma to be had with these sort of statements? Is this retribution of some sorts? These are all massive ethereal questions that we have to ask in terms of when you keep on pushing a narrative, when you keep on pushing a lie, do you get called out on it by the media? Absolutely not, especially not the MMA media. Or does justice come back around? Does karma come back around and bite you in the ass? As I said, this is a disjointed video after an extremely disjointed card. Did predict that it would be that. It is what it is. Let me know your thoughts down below. Maybe like the video and share the video if anything in here made sense. I appreciate you.